Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the virtual Cobalt Cafe. My name is Rick Lupert. Happy to have you here with us for week number 295 of our series. That's a lot of weeks. Glad that so many of you have been with us for so many of those weeks. Tonight, in addition to our open reading, our featured reader is Dujie Tahat. Dujie, happy that you are here with us. Thanks so much for making time to be at this event. We're really looking forward to hearing your poetry tonight. Before we get to Dujie, we're going to do a bit of our open reading, 5 open readers, and then our featured reader, and then the rest of the open reading. If you would like to read and you haven't already done so, send me a message in the chat and I will be happy to add you to the list. As always, it is a 2 poem maximum, and the suggested time limit is less is more. So keep all that in mind when you're figuring out how much it is that you're going to read in the open. And there you go. We do have a 1 drink minimum here at the Cobalt Cafe. Please make sure that you observe that in whatever way that you feel comfortable doing so. Help us honor that long-standing tradition. And finally, make sure that you have the chat room open so that way you can interact with each other throughout the festivities, since everyone is muted throughout those festivities. There you go. I think that's everything I need to tell you. Before we get to our first reader, I would like to ask if there are any questions. Cathabella, yes.
What do you see out your window?
Out my
Now or
window.
whenever. Now or whenever.
Well, that's 2 different answers, I guess. I guess that more often than not, when I'm looking out a window, it's in the morning in the kitchen, while I'm eating my oatmeal and blueberries mixed with a little bit of cinnamon, and I'm looking out into the backyard to determine A, did did the raccoon come back and poop in the middle of the lawn? That's number one, which then is the only thing that I can actually see. It's very frustrating. But in the bigger picture, out that window is we live on a hill, and there's a great view of other mountains and things like that. So that's what I see, if not the raccoon poop.
That's great. It's interesting the perspective, the near view and the far view you have.
Yeah. It's I find it interesting as well and beautiful. And it distracts me also from the blandness of this oatmeal that I'm eating as well. So there you go. All right, Cathabella, good question. Who else has a question? Martin Parker, yes.
Good evening, Rick. My question tonight may be a little bit weird, but I was just wondering if you've ever been to a cemetery or graveyard to look for names of ancestors on stones.
Yes. Um, a couple times in different places. Primarily on an adult visit to Syracuse, New York, after not having been there for 20, 25 years. But I did live there a little bit as a kid, and my family's from there, and I was really interested in genealogy and trying to figure out where I came from and all that. And I sought out my grandparents' graves and found them. And we did that in England as well, outside of London, when we were looking for my wife's great grandfather. So, yeah, done that a couple times.
Cool, wonderful.
All right. Thank you, Martin. Any other questions before we get going? All right. Well, I guess it's get going time. 5 open readers, and then our featured reader, Dujie Tahat. Our second reader will be Christopher T. George, please welcome our first reader, Bill Gaines. Hello, Bill.
Hello. How are y'all doing tonight? Awesome. Great response from the crowd. I always ask that and then it's weird silence. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, here we go. I have two short ones. These are both from National Poetry Month, 30 and 30. First one is called A Patty Melt Beats a Nuclear Meltdown. Cook me crispy with microwaves and serve me to the masses. Dress me to the nines for scale. A sandwich of me with infinite layers consumed on a masked illusion device is pretty tough to swallow. But a patty melt beats a nuclear meltdown, and cold fusion is better with peaches. And the piece. And my next one is called Sticky Hands. We didn't have memes when I was in high school. I can't remember what we had instead. We used to throw sticky hands on the outside wall of the band room. They cost a quarter each. Kids today have no idea.
No,
That's
they
it.
don't. And I think it's our job to educate them on the important things that they are missing out on, Bill. And I think you sharing that poem today, this evening here,
Of all days.
is the first step towards that.
I do what I can. I do what I can.
It's appreciated. You're becoming a Sasquatch also. I'd like to point out.
Yeah, my wife, we were in Vegas the other month, and you know those feather girls that walk up and down the strip, they have like bikinis and big feathers, and they come up to you and they're like, "Hey, you want to take a picture? Give us money." One of them came up to us and was like, "Hey, you want to take a picture?" And I was like, "No, no, we don't have any money." And then she goes, "And what about your mom?" And so my wife, after that, she is still upset by that. And she said, "Bill, you have to grow your beard in because you have gray hair there. And I can't have that happen again. So you need to look as old as me."
So it was mandated. It was a familial mandate, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yes. It's not for me. It's for my one and only true love who needs to look the same age as me, apparently.
It makes sense, and you've done a good thing there. And I would like to officially state for the record that I have no knowledge of those girls dressed like that in Las Vegas.
None whatsoever.
I hadn't even heard of the city.
Well, they say what happens there stays there. So I guess it's a black box.
There you go. All right, Bill, thank you for being here. Thanks for opening up the reading. Round of applause for Bill Gaines, exemplifying the less is more concept with his work tonight. Good stuff. On deck, Chris Kondo. Please welcome now Christopher T. George. Hello, Christopher.
I guess we're getting a lot of Christophers tonight. Let me call up my stuff. I'm a long time supporter of Liverpool Football Club. And let me call up this. April 15th, 1989, there was a tragedy that happened in Hillsborough, Sheffield, when the local police let too many fans into a stand-only part of the ground in the semi-final for the FA Cup, and 94 fans were killed, crushed to death, and then subsequent years 3 more died. This is Adrian Henry, a artist and pop poet. As you can see, he was a bit of a Andy Warhol type artist. And this is a poem that he wrote about it. The bell tolled all afternoon. We did not send to ask for whom. It told of flowers heaped in a gold mouth, red and blue scarves heaped together at an altar. It told of eyes like TV screens, haunted by last night's images, tears dried by the April wind. As the flags at half-mast stirred overhead, the deep bell still told in our heads long after the light had gone. And this was a painting that Adrian did about those scarves and bouquets in the Goldmouth, and a poem that I wrote. Flowers for Adrian Henry, 1932 to 2000. The worn flagstones of Mount Street opposite the Liverpool Institute. The head's office. I remember his cabinet full of silver trophies as he turned me down as a new pupil. 30 years later, I sat on your settee at 21 Mount Street, a cabinet with a dead magpie in it, garlanded with paste jewellery as I drank coffee with Conniani and listened to your rich Liverpool accent. Adrian, pop artist, pop poet, one of the triumvirate of 60s Liverpool poets, Henry, McGough, Patton. You stayed while Roger and McBrien decamped to the smoke, but you were the first to die, debilitated after your stroke, your big body, wasted but still, as in your poetry and your artwork. I want to paint, as you painted a football field of bouquets after the Hillsborough tragedy of '89. Flowers for Liverpool. Yes, every spring, every day, it's flowers for Adrian. And that's Adrian Henry in the middle, with Roger McGough and Brian Patton on the left. Thanks, folks.
Christopher, thank you very much. Good reading. Thanks for the history that you always bring in one topic or another in your work. Appreciate it. Round of applause for Christopher T. George. On deck, the collab, Cathabella, Jackie, and Siggy. Please welcome now Chris Kondo. Hello, Chris.
Hello there. Let me share something short and seasonal. Here we go. Okay, let's see. I can't get it so I can see it. Come on. There we go. Just one bamboo shoot stretching higher. I can't see. I was a grove. Okay, sorry, there was something else there that's very pale and I can't read it. Anyway, we've got bamboo shoots right now and you can see how high they grow. Even just a little one, they grow like, 6 or 7 feet in a day. Sorry, okay, next one. Stop share. Next one is a funny one, which I like for amusement. I can see it now. Come on. I've got a little message on top of the words. Okay. Snuggled cozily. Keep getting messages on top of the picture. Sorry. I can't read until the messages go away. Snuggled cozily deep in a riverbed, dreaming. The hippopotamus snores a fantasy of bubbles. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That was fun. The voices were lovely. I'm sorry about the intruding messages, but we made it through.
We made it. Yep. Thank you.
Sure. Round of applause for Chris Kondo. Thank you so much, Chris. On deck, Melody Anderson Brumides. Please welcome our collab tonight. That's Cathabella, Jackie, and Siggy. Hello to all three of you.
Thank you. Let's see.
Hi,
Where are we? Here we are. Can we see it? Here we are. Okay, share. And Here we are. We're out the window. Out the window? Here we go. We're out the window. The time I spent sharpening pencils for the view. My need to escape the schoolroom and fly into the sky. I'm sure you all identify with that feeling. Or at least a lot of you. Okay, Jackie.
A rock would land me in jail. I throw instead a party with strobe light and mirror balls.
That's great. I want to come, Jackie. Ziggy.
A friend's suggestion for anger management. Throw eggs at a wall. Satisfaction in throwing and hearing the splat.
Woo! Ziggy. Okay, Jackie.
Cars zoom by my balcony window with loud roars. Maybe I am angry at them too.
That's so well put. I know exactly how you feel. But then again, there's thousands of jasmine in full bloom. Even if my eyes close, my nose can see them. Ziggy.
I thought Mother would save my letters from Japan, tossed like everything is clutter, except a postcard from her beau. Dated the year before she married my father.
Jackie.
Egg toss at the park picnic with my love. The precariousness of this romance.
Oh. Third floor balcony. I throw water at the garden. To the seeds I sprinkled last week down below. Interesting. Does anybody write about that kind of gardening? Jackie.
Looking out the attic window, a friend I hid from now hides from me.
Ooh. Throwing walnuts on our balcony in 3 directions to avoid squabbles. Whoops! There's a squirrel in the bag. That actually happened. Looking up to our 3rd floor window, palm leaf fan with galaxy rainbow lights, I think such a wonderful place to live. And that's it.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. It's all true. That's all we write about. It's all true, right?
Yeah, like Tatsuaki said, everything comes from our own lives.
Yes, honest. He says honest.
That's all we ask for, is that everything that you say is true or not true, but entertaining. So as long as it's one or the other, we're in good shape.
And here's Rick with his mysterious flute.
Oh, it was sold as an Egyptian flute. It's not really, but it's an interesting scale that I like and may have some Egyptian origins.
And he's true.
And what?
You're true, Rick. You're true.
Rick is true. That's true.
That's true.
We believe in you, Rick.
And also, my mother was born in Egypt. I have to tell you, I think it's why it all happened. She was born in Egypt. Her family is Maltese, but it was an international community in the British consulate in Port Said, Egypt. That's where it all started. I wouldn't be such a problem if it wasn't for her.
Well, now we know where it all started. Fantastic, Cathabella. Great to hear that, and thank you, Colab, Cathabella, Jackie, Siggy, and Rick. Nice job, as always. Round of applause for those folks. On deck is our featured reader, Dujie Tahat. Please welcome now Melody Anderson Bermides. Hello, Melody.
There you go. Sorry, my camera's not working, but I'm getting all the technology worked out here. I have two pieces today. One is called cibo, which is the Italian word for food. Sitting in a cafe in Roma, a plate of spaghetti in front of me, a slice of pizza, cheese pizza, to the right. Sipping gingerly on a glass of wine, red wine. Alone, yet never alone, sitting amidst the sounds, sights, and aroma of Roma. These sensations and foods of Roma will never go away. A plate of spaghetti in front of me, a slice of pizza, cheese pizza to the right. Sipping gingerly on a glass of wine, red wine. By closing my eyes, I can return to Roma, a simple gift from my younger, 35-year-old self to me. Mangiamo, Italian for let's eat. Thank you. And the second piece is called Skinny Dipping. Many years ago, my friends and I dipped in the quarry, skinny dipped in the quarry by Southern Illinois, by U of I in Champaign-Urbana. We laughed a lot. We were high, often high. Laughed when the minnows nibbled, bit us in embarrassing places in our bodies. We drank cheap wine, passing the bottle around, passing joint around. Skinny dipped in the quarry, lay out on the big rocks. Suntanned, sunburned. I'd do this again today, any day. We are older, but our skinny dipped bodies will still enjoy the day of play. Thank you.
Melody, thank you very much. Great work. Sorry you couldn't, we couldn't get the camera working, but we got to hear your work, so it's a bonus. Thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for Melody Anderson Bermides. Thank you, Melody. On deck after our featured reader will be Martin Parker, which leads us now to our featured reader, Dujie Tahat. Dujie is a poet who got to my attention one morning as I was reading the emails that get sent to me from the various poetry organizations in the world. I believe it was the Academy of American Poets morningly, daily in the morning email, poem a day email that wowed me that morning before I even got out of bed. And I put Dujie on my list to invite, and we got it all worked out, and here they are. Dujie is the fifth civic poet. I'm curious as to what that means, Dujie, so maybe let us know. And the author of the book Shibboleth, which is forthcoming from Phonograph, the publisher called Phonograph, in 2027. So we have that to look forward to, though there are books available now, a few chapbooks, including Here I Am, Oh My God, and which is that the one that I linked to later? Well, I'll get back to you. I definitely have a link. For the book Balik Bayan is another title from Dujie, which I'll post a link to in a little bit. Dujie was selected for a Poetry Society of America Chapbook Fellowship. That's really cool. They're the winner of the Tupelo Press Sunken Garden Chapbook Award, and Dujie was also longlisted for the 2020 Penn Volcker Award for poetry collection for Balik Bayan, and as well as a finalist for the New Michigan Press Diagram Chapbook Contest. Dujie's work is fantastic. I'm really happy that you made some time to be with us tonight. I'm looking forward to this, and I don't have to look forward to it anymore because it's here. Please welcome our featured reader, Dujie Tahat.
Hi, y'all. Yeah, thank you so much for that warm introduction, Rick. I really appreciate it. To answer the question, I am the Seattle Civic Poet, which for Seattle is our version of the Poet Laureate, as it were. And so that's a great honor. I'm in my second year. It's a 2-year term. The Civic Poets here have proposed a project. It's basically a grant. It's a project-based grant. My project is to read poems with elected officials, and then to read policy closely as if they were sort of poems. And I do that with city council members. I just did that with the mayor a couple of weeks ago. And then I do that with a bunch of boards and commissions as well. It's a pretty, my thesis is that both policy writing and poetry are vocations in language, that they share that in common. And so you have to have a faculty with reading and writing and talking about language. With that in mind, I am someone who tends to write sort of obsessively in form. Most of those chapbooks are actually in a really specific, like an invented form. I've lately been writing ghazals, which are, sort of old Persian, Arabic, Urdu form. If you're not familiar, they're sort of in couplets. They're sort of like a rhyme thing that happens, that ends each couplet, and then the poet sort of names themselves as a signature at the end. I believe, Rick, the poem that you might be referencing is one of those ghazals. They're all titled All American Ghazal too. So I'm just gonna read you a handful of All American Ghazals. All American Ghazal. I'm not really from here unless I marry someone from here. My father worked the fields. My mother teaches kids from here. My uncles worked Alaskan canneries, yet no form says I'm from here. The myth is, it's mine, where I'm from. Say here, and I'll look. I know I have no book unless I tell you I'm from there. Honey, olives, fish over rice. What did I leave out? From here, anyone could sing a great song. Here's where tragedy really comes from. It's not the random stranger who steals your goat. It's the people you trust. Here, the most, the ones you're closest to. Dujie, so close to from here. I just keep writing these. I think this is maybe the last one that I'm about to read right now. You sort of, I don't know how many of you are obsessive types, but when you sort of get to the end of your run of an obsession, you sort of start to feel the juice, limits on the juice that you are squeezing out, or, what is it? The squeeze isn't worth the juice at some point. All American Ghazal. I lied to my father, peaked, ailing. Now I have a poem. I left a novel in the living room, so I turned to poems. My mother is another universe, a neuron plugged into 10 billion more. For age-old questions, I turn to poems. Maybe it doesn't have to have an ending. Not multiple choice, choose your own adventure, turn to any poem. My bag stores so much. Crossover, deep stroke, dagger, defender in my shirt, for sure I sweat out to these poems. Xanthocephalus, xanthocephalus, anhinga, Eupupidae, blackbird belly, billows, blue cinnamon, crown poem. My gratitude for excess vanity. Without a portrait or several, it would be as if I never existed at all. My poem is a kind of conscience, scenery of jardiniera, machinery behind the record store, knee-deep in turntable poems. Wanting more, this email does not find me well. I yell, alter, almost imperceptibly, my son's disposition in a poem. There's a lot of backroom conversations about funding. There's a lot of life at a barbecue. Those too are poems. Practice as place as practice, possibility threads through the needle's eye. Where do we play in a poem? Newly appointed prophets always ask if God will return another day. Summer starts May now. Too much poem. An axiomatic tree felled, surrounded by, we may assume, a parish of standing trees. I'm the center of it all. The people want the poem to end when it begins. Don't you know, Dujie, people hate the poet. Let's see. Here is the poem that was in the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day. Yeah, I was really proud of this one. All American Ghazal. On our first date, I admit I haven't left since arriving to this country. So, of course, being dramatic, I became a poet's country. Years after divorce, I lost a custody fight, in part because of my status, so indeed a free country. Pho in the South End, oxtail in Queens, tinned fish, cannoli in Little Italy, no contact delivery, the food of my country. 50 or so provincial patches of grass upon closer look leaves, the edge where people live, phrase, in this country. We can work on human rights while negotiating, the senator says on NPR, the prospects of nuclear war in our country. I was born in the Philippines, so my native tongue is partisanship. I'm many parties. I'm impartial in a country, a professional ministerial office holder, a biblical fortune. It's libidinal, the we in the ballad that makes a land. It's provisional, the line that cuts through sand. I is a line with a place to stand. I is a framing device. What good is a nation? Parts of speech like mine fragment, cut, clean. I'm rightless, but I have capital. Charge me, Dujie, pray see a person. This is, I think, maybe the first one that I, no, that's not true. The first one I read was the first one, but I think that was before I knew that it was a proper obsession. This is when I knew that I was really, really in it. All American Ghazal. Thursday lunch. There are holes in my eyes, but not the ones that make them my eyes. My optometrist sends me to a retinal surgeon, but I need someone who specializes in corneas. How little I know about committing to memory the curves of your face by looking. Oh, this one is fun. This, I guess, what I mean by like this was the one that made it clear that I was obsessing, is that I started playing with rhymes here, where I, started using like conceptual rhymes or like playing around with the ending. So like corneas, looking, eyebrow, those are sort of like where you would typically expect the sort of eyes to return. I got funny and started doing sounds and watched. But you'll get to that. One other sort of fun feature about ghazals is that they're described as like a string of beads that you could sort of rearrange the order. One of my favorite ghazal writers is Agha Shahid Ali. And if you can listen to him and recordings of him read ghazals, he often actually interrupts his own poems to like crack jokes about what's happening in the room, and then sort of returns to the poem, because the idea is that each stanza is its own sort of universe of things, and so you're sort of stringing them all together. Anyway, how little I know about committing to memory the curves of your face by looking. The poet says chiaroscuro, having not in years held a charcoal stick from its tip. An eyebrow, the perfect dip of an ear's helix into folds upon folds, is as unique as a fingerprint. It sure sounds like science. I look away. Something changes. May I be curious? I love that. I've studied pictures of the falling man from 9/11 for so long, yet I'm no closer to knowing. I've watched so much light in my lifetime already. The better question is if Eurydice called for Orpheus. When oppressive systems are so well hidden, Eros flees from sight, elbowing the mind, making sense of things. When you put it that way, I put it the way it is. I resent looking isn't understanding long enough to call my lover within breath's reach. Where hips meet, the sight melts like ice in whiskey. Did we jump or fall? My, what I can see, Dujie, when you close your eyes. I'm gonna read. Oh, I don't know, maybe two more. One is a long one. So part of, I think, the sort of formal obsession of mine is like, sort of coming to terms with the limits of a form, or sort of like more or less being told what you can't do in it, or more propulsive than that is like sort of coming to terms and understanding what you can't do, and then seeing if you can find a way to do it. So I had a teacher one time say that you can't really write ghazals in short lines because the repetition gets too sort of like onerous. If you do it in short lines, just like the number of words, the repetition of the words gets to be boring. And so I was like, okay, hold my beer. And then I wrote a really long ghazal of short lines. And I don't think any of the lines are longer than like 4 or 5 words. Often they're only 2 words long. But this also then, I think, subsequently I rely a lot on what I was sort of talking about earlier, the sort of like conceptual rhyme, or like a rhyme that's sort of aware of itself, like even a slant conceptual rhyme, which I don't know if that's really a rhyme, but it is. They're tied together. I also in this one play around with because they're short lines, they can't sort of be the sort of self-contained universes in each couplet. They sort of like spill into each other, and there's actually no punctuation, which I think hopefully you can hear. All American Ghazal. All stories tell the story of the beginning. I'm tired of telling my therapist I tend more than I admit to trust stories. I am falling, flailing on the floor. Like my father, I'd like this to end, will live with ceasing, fading away. I get up from the middle of a story because I can. My side of the fence I keep clean. On a 5th story fire escape, a curious child, who could be me in another story, looks through a telescope at the beehives on a rooftop, inside the alley, across the alley, inside the TV, beams Robert Ory, winning another Larry O trophy. Time is many things, why not story? My kids do what their mom's story tells them to, and it's real. That I'm mad as hell, but that story gets in the way of being here. It made me feel inadequate. It reminds me I was abandoned. Once upon a starts a fable. Childhood is the oldest grudge story. I obsess over the hero's narrative. I'm in love lately with love novels, the way every love story expands and repeats the first story. We've always dated others, goes the story. The sex has been great from the jump story. Like animal hunger, desire is the only story. When talk turns to news, I lie. I'm good, I testify. I wake up the will to live, stories on stories I see collapsed on a bleeding child. Children who look like children are dying. A grieving mother, thousands dead. It isn't complex, but there are levels. The price of war is a different story. Passive voice dusts the report. Depending on who thickens the plot, settles a land, calls it history. On a street, I have a house, an attic, 3 kids, roses, rhododendron blooming in all directions. The story of children's blood on the street, the story on the street of children's blood on children's streets, blood stories. The big shot is part and parcel the story. My kid offers fanfic lore as placeholder for opinion. So on the way to school, a story. During dinner, more stories. Before bed, another story. What I'm doing without a story or country leads me to believe making is kind of fiction, kind of desire, not a poem, the way the end begins a story, the way the Dujie story. Thanks, y'all. I've got, let's see, 1, maybe 2 more, if that's all right, and then I will be done. Which one do I want to end with? I suppose. These get a little sexy. All American Ghazal. Ordering kebab is to make a beautiful thing out of language. Knowing too to make another thing, I have no other language. Before I asked my Arab uncle the word in English for this bite or that, I'd already forgotten prosody meaning. My language is at best borrowed, but that which is borrowed is a blue bully's beating, burrowing its way into memory. At open house I hid my father, whose accent embarrassed a younger me. Please, Baba. Performance bleases Papa best, and my vowels have been languid since arriving to this country. Like every lover I've ever licked, my father knows I shape my bow-legged mouth in the language of another's pleasure. I'll lisp, twang, twirl a lazy gerund if the body before me shows first how it's done. Language is a hallway of mirrors, after all. In a plea, put it in my mouth. Watch my ugly tongue make you beautiful. Anguish? Who said anything about misery? I know my place between the space of an open throat and song. To break language leads me to write another, and it's a list of catastrophes that shows you my fluency in your language, but I am whistling along, absent-mindedly, arduously avoiding consonants, closure, all fumbling lips and teeth and absence. Having daily pledged an allegiance I regret, lent breath to a nation that spits into an already wet O, Dujie still, dripping American poems. This is my last one, and I want to thank you all for inviting me into the space and sort of participating in what is a very long-standing tradition at this point in the 250-something-th week of this reading. Thank you, Rick, for reaching out and inviting me for the broadside and for following up. I'm, like many poets, not very good at my email. Willfully not good at my email, maybe. But thank you. Thank you so much for following up and keeping me on the docket. This is my last one. All American Ghazal. I'm long past angry, and yes, beyond tired, I wish I could say, but they're just kids and my girlfriend's watching. I could pray at dawn, at dusk, a few more unfoldings, 1,000 sunlit hours, but I don't. I won't. I yell and they stop playing. Look down at their bare feet. Log onto class. There is nothing about these days that resemble ritual. Oh, I have been played too. Flayed myself in the furious pause of a father's hesitation. For show, toyed with like the fraying fringe of fake praying. I left the church over my mother's protestation even after the cathedral burned down, yet found myself in another prayer. A tongue tides along my trim to forget, for a second, the volume of forgiveness. I've hid in many stairwells. I slide a beat along, say a bit of something familiar. Alhamdu doesn't come as easy as it did once. The thing about Eros is, I love being bitter. Salt prey after the hunt. Salinity is close to divinity. Hail Mary, my God got a well-rounded palate, an appetite I can fuck with. Every lover I have ever had has said something about the way I eat. Hollow leg, how I can pick a whole fried tilapia to its cones. I suck its eyes and its cheeks. If we're talking about sex, my kids are still here. There is a body before a body. Legs, more legs. Afraid to pray, or maybe to ruin the moment of entering. I take off my shoes. Before knocking, wash my elbows, ears, rinse my name. Dujie, say it. Thank you.
Dujie, I enjoyed that so much, and there's so much to talk about or to comment on. I love the concept that now that you've explained what the civic poet is, I love that phrase, like significantly more than poet laureate, because there's such a deep connection with the responsibility of what you're supposed to be doing in that position. So kudos to Seattle and to you for being the civic poet of the city. I love the idea of the invented form, especially juxtaposed against what you said subsequently about like struggling with form. Certainly a great response to that is just inventing a form, that you might choose to follow the rules of rather than a different set of rules. And then there's so many great lines for age-old questions, I turn to poems. So my native tongue is partisanship. Um, uh, Ordering kebab is to make a beautiful thing out of language. Watch my ugly tongue make you beautiful. That is just a small assemblage of the things that you said, which I really dug. I love the repetition of your name in the poems. Each poem was its own world, made up of these stanza universes, like you talked about, but really they stand on their own. But there's this connection between all of them because, or many of them at least, because your name keeps popping up, and that's really a really interesting thing that you do. How cool was that? I really dug it. I'm going to post some stuff in the chat. I've posted some stuff in the chat. I'm going to share the screen to show the broadside that I made for your poem on desire. People can download this now at the Cobalt Poets website, poetrysuperhighway.com/cobalt. Click on broadsides and you can grab this. It's an 11 by 17 print that you can print if you'd like. You can look at on your screen, whatever you would like to do. I hope you'll consider tipping Dujie for their reading by, quote, purchasing one of these or just honoring the long-standing tradition of tipping a poet after they do a reading, putting some money in the hat. In this case, it's a virtual hat. I've got Dujie's Venmo pasted in the chat, so please definitely support our poet for their reading. You can, if you're interested in more from Dujie, there's a link to Balak Bayan, both at Amazon and at bookshop.org. I'm sure it's online in other places as well if you'd like to check it out. And finally, Dujie's website, dujietahat.com. So lots of ways to stay in touch with, keep track of, support, and thank our featured poet for their reading tonight. Dujie, thank you so much for being here. I really dug that quite a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's really lovely. Like I said, I think you all have. It's very clear getting to come a little early that you all have like a relationship with one another and sort of getting the opportunity to sort of like be a part of that for as brief as it was made my day. So thank you all.
Well, thank you. And the way that you become part of it is by coming back and just like, shooting the shit before the reading happens. So if you're ever bored on a Tuesday night, please join in and drop something in the open. We'd love to hear more from you. Either way, continued success to you in all that you're doing. And thank you so much for being here. Really a fantastic set of poems from Dujie. Please, everyone, give a round of applause for our featured reader, Dujie Tahat. Well done. Before we get to the rest of tonight's open reading, I will mention that next week's featured poet is another poet who got on my attention thanks to poets.org, the Poem a Day email from the Academy of American Poets. Amy M. Alvarez will be here next week. All right, tonight's open reading, this is who I have on the list for the rest of tonight. If I missed anyone or if anyone would like to add themselves, please don't hesitate to send me a message in the chat and I'll be more than happy to add you. Martin Parker, Christopher Bogart, Denise Dumars, Scott Norman Rosenthal, Jennifer Elise Wang, Ken Scott, Dig Wayne, me. Feel free to send me a message and to add yourself to the list like Hermione just did. So you're in Hermione. As a reminder, 2 poems maximum. Less is more is the suggested time limit. On deck is Christopher Bogart. Please welcome now Martin Parker. Hello, Martin.
Hello again, Rick. I've got one poem for this evening. There's a little bit of story behind it. This I'm calling so far is Civil Dawn. Who rests beneath this open sky, I wonder why we never knew. Below this blue a stone did hide another side of an ancestral line that did decline to join the fray that Quaker Gray was said to shun. The shining sun well after dawn beat down upon the plague-filled camp, where through the damp and chilly night his chance to fight would slip away until the day they sent him home. No storied tome has told the tale of how he'd failed to make his mark, as in the dark the stone would lie below this sky until we found this unknown ground that now defines the hidden lines his deeds bequeath. This is in memory of my mother's father's father's father, Robert Wright, lived 1837 to 1896. And it's from going to look for his gravestone in a little crossroads cemetery, a couple miles south of where my father grew up, ironically, not where my mother grew up. And learning from it that he served in the 60th Ohio Infantry during the Civil War. So I got back to DC, had to go to the archives and do some more research, and found out that even though I didn't know of any other previous ancestors who'd been in the military, partly because my father's side is all Quaker. And then I'd recently found out that he and his wife were the only Quakers I knew of on my mother's side. He decided to go volunteer for the Civil War from the Union side by walking down to the Ohio River, and promptly caught typhoid and stayed in a hospital camp during the whole war, and then was released and spent much of his life trying to get the government to give him some money because he suffered during the war. So that's some interesting personal history we found out from just visiting one gravestone and finding out the repercussions of it. So thanks so much, as always, for everybody for wonderful support. And we'll put my usual links in the chat in case somebody wants to check out my multilingual artwork. Thanks again.
Martin, thank you. Interesting history you gave us, and it must have been really especially interesting to you to find it out when you were researching it. I love that stuff, finding out, what happened here, who did that, how am I connected to it? So yeah, really on board with that whole thing. Thanks for being here tonight, Martin.
Thank you so much.
Round of applause for Martin Parker. On deck, Denise Dumars. Please welcome Christopher Bogart. Hello, Christopher.
Hello, Rick. I have two poems tonight. Neither one of them are political. They're about my childhood. So without further ado, let me start with one called Summerhill Market. It was a bright red Schwinn bike that took me on that day in the May of my 12th year to Summerhill Market. The hot sun beat on my back as I cut through the streets of Clover Estates, pedaling downhill all the way on the fastest of routes to the only grocery store for miles. As I turned my handlebars onto Summerhill Road, I saw the market ahead of me, a small, squat, red brick building surrounded by fields of grazing cattle, waiting to be slaughtered in the abattoir at the back of the store. I raced my bike across the road, then pulled up to the silver bike rack. I braked, spraying gray gravel in all directions, dismounted, and entered the store. The light was dim. It took me a while to adjust my eyes from the bright sunlight of the world outside to the muted light within. The cool, damp smell of wet wood and raw meat permeated the place. I walked down the aisle to fetch a gallon jug of milk and a loaf of bread, listening to the muffled voices of the register clerk discussing the day's events with a lone customer, punctuated by the tapping of the keys and the register bell's plaintive ring. With my last purchases in hand, I had one more stop to make. In the deep freezer in the front of the store, I plunged my hand through frozen mists to emerge with a container of homemade vanilla bean ice cream. Pulling off the container lid, the cool, sweet smell of toasted vanilla bean flecks assail my nose, masking, if just for a moment, all of the dank smells of the store. I raised the frosted cylinder to my nose and inhaled deeply. Visions of dessert tonight invaded my thoughts, driving out all that preceded them. I flipped the cover back on, bottling the ice cream genie for now, and proceeded to the counter to pay for my purchases. Once outside the store, I mounted my bike, and with a push, I coasted across Summer Hill Road, then pedaled up the long, lone hill home. Dessert hanging off my handlebars carelessly, carefree and warm, with the sun on my face and secure in the safety of my youth. A time that would turn out to be much shorter than I had realized. Now, from the window of my car, I see that there is a strip mall there on Summer Hill Road. The field of cows and the squat brick building are gone, replacing them as a quick check, a dry cleaner, and a video store that offers a wide selection of DVDs. That's my first one. And the second one is pretty much the same thing, memories. And I don't know that you're going to believe this, but every single one of these is true. The poem is called Don't Do That Again. Do you remember that day when you were 3 and you pushed your little finger into the light socket to see what turned the lights on? Shocking, wasn't it? Don't do that again. You remember at 4 when you thought mothballs smelled so great that you put them up to your nose to get a better whiff and you sniffed? Don't sniff that again. Do you remember at 5 when the kid down the street suggested you quench your thirst with a glass of kerosene and you drank it? Don't drink it again. Do you remember when you were 6 and you decided to pet the cute little organ grinder's monkey on Flatbush Avenue and he bit you? Don't pet him again. Do you remember when you were 7 and you loved the smell of DDT so much that you jumped on the back of the truck for a ride? Were you crazy? Don't do that again. And one lonely night, when you were 8, and you thought you heard something so very strange come creeping out from under the bed, take my advice. Cover your head. Don't look like you did then. Don't do that again. Thank you.
Mostly good advice. I would have a hard time not petting whatever it was again. That's my
Organ grinder's
personal.
monkey.
Yeah.
That's how old I am.
All right. Well, that's a good insight there, Christopher. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for being here. Round of applause for Christopher Bogart. On deck, Scott Norman Rosenthal. Please welcome Denise Dumars. Hello, Denise.
Hey, I got a couple things I'm going to try to put into the chat here tonight. I'm doing a thing this Saturday. I want to see if the first one of these is going to come out. Yeah, there it is. This is over at Litfest in Medina. I'm going to be reading with the so-called Starlit Scribes at 11:30 a.m. on Saturday. And then, let's watch this. I get this. Okay. Later on that same day, our own Dig Wayne is reading with the Catching Fire things. So yes, here we all are, and here we will be on Saturday in Pasadena for the Lit Fest. So I don't know what to read tonight. I'm going to just read weird stuff. So this one is from my little chapbook, Mars Maundering, and I've decided, because these are so little and plain, that I'm gonna decorate each one of these. So when somebody buys one, they get one that's unique. Okay, All that rust up there, a byproduct of life. So where's the beef? The salt lick underground, the briny ocean ticking just below the surface of Mars. Terrans have a hankering for water, but sweet and clear. Still, without salt, all that water runs out and we dissolve in hallucinogenic dreams and the folly of colonizing Mars. Colonialism sticks in my craw, dislodging the crawfish of remembering. And I'm going to end with this one. This one is, I wrote this for a themed issue of a magazine all about cryptids. Those are cryptozoological creatures that may or may not exist. And the theme was all about California-specific cryptids. So that's what this poem is. It's called California Cryptids. You can see if you've heard of some of these. I've never seen a cactus cat. It gets high off of cactus sap. I've never seen the Fresno alien, always asking why he has no arms. I've never seen the Hyampom hog bear, though some bears live under people's houses here. And I've never seen the ghost deer, white as milk, impervious to bullets. But I can tell you, mysteries do exist in every cubbyhole in town, in every heart, in every dream, in this imaginary state of being, where even the Battle of Los Angeles in World War II seemed like a space alien attack. The first thing on everyone's mind was something they'd seen at the movies, more real than reality in California. And everyone knows someone who's seen Bigfoot. But I wrote that poem already. So come on out and show me your cryptids, because I saw a coyote on Inglewood Avenue, and any cryptids in this neighborhood are likely to get eaten by the pack. Thank you.
I usually don't show my cryptids till the second date, Denise. Cool, cool poems. I was in Portland, Maine with Addie several years ago as part of a vacation we were on in the Northeast, and we visited the Cryptozoological Museum that was there. It was pretty cool. And this summer we're going to Scotland. And we're trying to combine all the whiskey drinking with searching for Nessie.
Well, you
So
have Boleskine House, because it's open now. That's the place where Aleister Crowley lived. So if you go to Loch Ness, you got to visit Boleskine House. It's on Loch Ness. So there you go.
send me an email and remind me of that, because the schedule's open, and if that's what we must do, then we will.
I will info on that later. Thank you,
you.
everybody.
All right, Denise, thank you so much. Great work. Good luck at those Catching Fire readings. Looks like fun. Or the Lit Fest reading and the Catching Fire reading. Round of applause for Denise Dumars. On deck, Jennifer Elise Wang. Please welcome Scott Norman Rosenthal. Hello, Scott.
Hello. This one won a a kind of minor prize. There's a local nonprofit, Treehouse Books, and they're like a lending library. They ship all over the country. I don't know if they send to Canada or not. It costs a lot of money, but this won a contest. Zippy, well, they have children's classes and things. You know, there's quite an emphasis on children. So, Zippy in Heaven, for Zippy and Michelle. Not so different. Less leashes, more space. Neighbors more honest. Humans, dogs, skunks. Barking in the sun. People together. Walking, dancing, crooning to the moon. Those we love are here. Dogs, humans, skunks. In time. And in case some of this audience was not at the Holocaust poem reading, this is my first attempt at a Holocaust poem. It's not finished. I'm probably going to edit the heck out of it before I'm done. Holocaust poem, spring 2026. In these countries, even gypsies do not roam. Prophecy, bells chanting, now morning. The harmony of violins gone, lamenting in the silence of fear. Small houses, caravans, blackened bone. Is even the sky innocent? Thank you.
Scott, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. A round of applause for Scott Norman Rosenthal. On deck, Ken Scott. Please welcome Jennifer Elise Wang. Hello, Jennifer.
Hey, so I've got two. First was inspired by Dujie talking about obsession in writing. That's something I can relate to. And also, this is why I don't do a poem a day every April, because my friend Mel does a sort of Drawtober inspired challenge in October for the fandom we're obsessed with. So I do a poem / short prose piece a day. Then I don't think I can do a second month of that. But yeah, that kind of is my obsession every October, is to write a fan piece for this little D&D series my friends and I like to watch. And it got really out of hand this year because I did haikus the past year and I was like, I'll just add another line. And so it turned into quatrains, which are a lot harder to write. And that was an interesting challenge. But here's one of the pieces that I wrote for it. The prompt was animal companion. While I did carry you astride, our fearsome foes you cleaved, I would have joined you to the end. Now riderless I leave. And so that was from the point of view of a horse who lost his rider, sadly, in the campaign. Something totally different. Just, I know as poets, most of us hate AI. Sometimes I'm like, man, they're taking the jobs that I want to have. And so I kind of wrote this piece about that. And also because there was a literary competition that had an AI division. And so I was being kind of bratty and passive aggressive about that. So this is why I will be replaced by AI. They wouldn't ever be late, nor would they be early, but they wouldn't sass you about it like Gandalf. They wouldn't forget important dates, or get sidetracked from important tasks, or sit in the stupor of executive dysfunction, or suddenly switch the topic to something else, and then forgetting the words they planned to say. They wouldn't demand better pay or off days for vacation, physical illness, or mental health. You won't find them still in bed in a depressive state, unable to write or work or shower. They don't get anxious or angry or annoyed, but they could simulate affection better than my autistic, aromantic, asexual self. They don't need 4 pills and 1 spray every day and injections every other week to function. They don't need an ablation for a defective heart, and they don't want LASIK, braces, blepharoplasty, a hysterectomy, a breast reduction, but only some days, and other days, a total double mastectomy, because AI doesn't experience dysmorphia or dysphoria, and they probably would be okay with whatever pronoun you assign them. They don't get writer's block, and they would know precisely when to stop this poem, but they would never mean what they write, whereas I tell the truth from deep within most of the time.
Jennifer, that was great. Thanks for that perspective on AI. It's definitely a hot topic, which generally no creative beings are for. I've noticed in commentary online. I like the first piece a lot too. I realized that I just want to know so much more about what is on the minds of horses. So if more is going to come in that series, I would be delighted to hear your thoughts on what they're thinking about and how I can support their needs. Jennifer, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Round of applause for Jennifer Elise Wang. On deck, Dig Wayne. Please welcome now Ken Scott. Hello, Ken.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm going to do a couple of romantic and erotic pieces today, just to change the pace from the spiritual and political stuff that I've normally done. I'll start with the romantic piece first. I wrote this a while ago. This piece is called The Teardrops I Shed. The teardrops I shed are tears of joy. Kissing your soul with morning loves, you are sweet gentleness in my comforting arms. Woman of my joys, the lovely dream that fills my heart with peace, fulfillment, the breath that breathes within my soul. Caress my heart with your gentle ways, your kisses of faithful, doting loves. The teardrops I shed are tears of amazement at how your love for me can even endure my lowest moments. Beautiful lady, I likewise want to be your rock of strength, your gentle comfort in times of need, a gift to you that surpasses even my very giving heart. Your undying love will always be the nurturing wellspring for the teardrops I shed. That's that one. The next piece now is going to be the erotic one. And this one, excuse me, this one is called Your Two Nurturing Mountains of Lifelong Love. I love voluptuous women. I'll just be honest about it. My sweetest lifelong lady love, the most majestic mountains are nothing compared to your two nurturing havens of satisfying bliss, and the loveliest depths of the sea pale in comparison to your warm shelter of moist embrace. Your gentle fragrance more intoxicating than a field of jasmine blossoms in full bloom. I am forever yours, my beloved, as you eagerly welcome me into the sweetest wet depths of you, with the innocent, playful, doting affections of first love in springtime, my most passionate fertility goddess of consummate devotion and voluptuous joys, my soul faithfully bound to your gentlest fragrance with sumptuous ecstasies. I am forever honored to belong within the deep, undulating, satisfying valley between your two nurturing mountains of lifelong love. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Nice to hear what you were doing tonight. A nice departure from the other stuff as well. Thank you so much for being here. A round of applause for Ken Scott.
Thank you.
On deck is Hermione. Please welcome Dig Wayne. Hello, Dig.
Hello. I've got a short one and a long one. Oh, great and lofty mind, here I am, a beggar in ermine, a pimple in a tiara, a whore wrapped in a nursery rhyme, a stick done up as a stone, an hour with 30 seconds left to live, a philosopher selling pencils. That's that one. Thank you, Denise, for the plug. This is an old one from 2020. It's inspired by Leaves of Grass. It's called A Young Girl Went Forth. There was a young girl went forth No fear in her bones, no hate in her heart. As a child, she took on the bravery of a warrior with no army at her side. She asked her mother if she was pretty. Her mother said no. So she picked the ugly flowers in the garden. Her father told her she would never have a boyfriend if she didn't lose weight. So she became the shiny balloon floating over the pretty flowers that grew in the cracks of the sidewalk. When she witnessed injustice, she took it on her back and carried it to the river. When she tasted anger, she swallowed it whole. When she heard the cries of the hungry, she filled her ears with sorrow. When she felt the pain of the sick and dying, she smiled and walked with it in her fist, releasing it like butterflies over concrete meadows and asphalt alleys. Dogfight, dogfight. As a teenager, she wrapped herself in the insecurity blankets of the mean girls and bully boys, warming her soul with peace and kindness. As a young woman, when the earth burned and cities drowned, she set out in a rowboat and offer a hand to the Wall Street sharks, fossil fuel barons and homeless billionaires, crying in wine caves up to their double Windsors and Lafitte Rothschild Bordeaux. When her mother died, she took on her well-meaning soul, cupping it in her aging hands, forgiving each slight, wound, and misbegotten birthmark. When her father died in her arms, she hugged his breathless body to her warm bosom, watching his chiseled soul flutter up into the poisonous atmosphere, disintegrating into an opaque mist, which she inherited and wore as a halo even after she died. Thank you.
Strong work tonight, Dig. Thank you so much for that. When you said dogfight, there were literally dogs barking outside my window here.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm trying to understand what just happened.
Well, I heard there were dogs barking out my window. That's why I said it. You didn't hear them?
The dogs here were kind of loud, so I don't know. Maybe does that mean we're about to have an earthquake? What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, we have dogs in our neighborhoods.
It must mean that. Well, mystery solved. Great, thank you. Dig, thanks so much for being here. Good work. May the dogs not keep you up at night. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Rick. Thanks, everybody.
Round of applause for Dig Wayne. On deck, Derek Perriott. Please welcome now Hermione. Hello, Hermione. Hermione, make sure you unmute.
For some reason, I can't unmute. Now, can you see the screen? If not, don't worry about it. Okay. Speak less. Listen more. Grow. Love. Hurt. Guard your heart. Care. Share. Not too much. Change. Bend. Don't break. New shoes. I just bought a pair of new shoes for my old feet. Shiny black patent leather kitten heel slingbacks. They look good and have that new shoe smell that I love, but they feel, oh, I can't find the word. Uncomfortable is what I'm trying to say. If they hadn't cost so much, I would throw them in the trash and wear sneakers and house slippers all day, every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Hermione. Nice work. Glad we got you unmuted and got to see and hear your poem. Thanks so much for being here. Round of applause for Hermione. Derek, who I mentioned would be on deck, seems to have left the room. So we're going to say that I'm on deck to close out the open. And Julian, sorry for the little notice, but you are up next. Please welcome Julian Matthews.
Hi. To share screen. Demilitarized zone. When the room goes silent, even the kettle wants to sing. The clock in its incessant ticking marks time as if it was a funeral director. All the walls are listening in, waiting for some action that they can later gossip about while you sleep. When does a home become a house? When the walls close in or the roof blows off? Or when eggshells replace the tiles? When is the distance between two hearts and artery too far? Perhaps a heart is a crumpled crane. When it's flattened out, it's an origami page you can't fold or rebuild from memory. A door slams from an unexpected wind. Sorry comes the muffled apology from behind the door, which now feels like another wall I can't dematerialize. The beach. That day on the empty stretch, I was only hoping to find some seashells as souvenirs to take home. But instead I came upon your wreckage on my shore. You were no mermaid, for I know mermaids are mythical creatures, but you were trouble, gasping for air, a salty tongue siren sounding alarms. These days it's hard to tell a performance from lived-in truth. All the world's a stage and every player's in search of a benefactor. I should have stuck to my side of the bench and watched the sun drown in a watery swoon. Let the wind caress my face, sound its last thrills, then bow out like orchestral applause. I should have headed home alone, the mere memory of those lit moments enough. Instead of playing angel after he'd left, helped unravel all your butterfly tangles. Apologies, I can't read the last bit. Thank you.
All right, Julian, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you and your work, and especially that you come to us from all the way on the other side of the world, making this truly an international affair, along with our otherwise North American centric populace, with notable exceptions, Chris from Japan, etc. Thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for Julian Matthews. I'm going to close out the open reading with a couple of poems. This is an old poem, maybe 10 years old or so, that I was just reminded of by someone. So it was in my head and I thought I'd share it with you. This actually was based on an experience that I had driving to the Cobalt Cafe one Tuesday evening. It's called Hot Dog Trunk. I'm driving westbound on Sherman Way behind a hot dog truck. This giant cock of meat I'm tailgating shouts in my face, 100 species died to make me. It's the ultimate FU to my vegetarianism. We pass by a pet store and I blurt out the window, "Don't worry, guys, I got this one." I swerve to pull ahead, and sure enough, the driver is smoking the leg of a zebra. He's got that look which says, "You want to roll with the wiener? You got to put the jungle in your mouth." I want to pull ahead and hit the fart button on my car, but then I remember that's something I made up. I want to drive on a road free of meat. I want to put a forest of carrots in my mouth. I want to wrap my arms around a leopard so when the credits roll, everyone will know no animals were even looked at funny in the living of this life. Oh, meat truck. Oh, rolling death. Oh, baconalia. Move aside. Life is rolling by. There you go. Baconalia, that was on one of those little table tent cards in a Denny's. So I took that phrase with me. This second poem was written for this week's Torah portion, because naturally after that poem we need to defuse ourselves with some Torah. This week's Torah portion, the Hebrew word for the title is emor, which means to speak, or it's the command speak. And this poem is called Let Us Not Speak. Let us not speak of all the things we are not supposed to do, because the list is long and the Omer isn't going to count itself. I'm writing these words on the 18th day of the space between the second telling of the Feast of Unleavened Bread and the day our top 10 laws were etched in stone. I'm writing these words after reading the ancient words which tell me to do this counting. It's a real inception level situation. Let us not speak of the day the manna stopped falling out of the sky and we had to learn to fend for ourselves. Or is that assumption a lack of faith? If it is a lack of faith, let us not speak of it. The truth is, if you get me in a room, I'd be willing to speak of almost anything. I'd list all the laws, like one of those memes where you give yourself a point for everyone you followed or didn't follow. You could share your score in the comments. Let us not speak of each other's scores. Let us not speak of my blasphemy and how I disguise it as poems. It is spring today, and while all this counting is counted, we can speak of anything we want. Let's do that. Let's put it on the calendar. All right, folks, we did it. Fantastic reading today. I want to especially thank our featured reader, Dujie Tahat, for their reading. There's the stuff from earlier. You can tip Dujie via Venmo at the Venmo ID there. You can download the broadside for Dujie's poem on the Cobalt Poets website, of course, there. If you are finished looking at all the broadsides, you can click on calendar to see who's coming up in the coming weeks and months. Next week, our featured reader will be the poet Amy M. Alvarez. Also on the Cobalt Poets website, if you're not already getting our weekly emails, you can click on email list and add yourself there, and you'll start getting them. You can, going back to the chat, click on a couple different links there to get to Dujie's most recent book, Balak Bayan, at Amazon or bookshop.org. And finally, there's Dujie's website as well. Thank you, Dujie. It was fantastic. Thank you to all our open readers. Really a great and fun night and great to be with all of you. The Ask All to Unmute button has been clicked.
Click, click.
It rolling meat cock of death. Oh man, that'll be with me for the rest of eternity.
Wow.
That was a good one, man. That first one was hilarious, man. I was feeling your angst on that truck, man.
Thanks, Ken.
On that note, yeah, I gotta get ready for work myself. Rolling meat cocks aside, I gotta get ready for work. So on that note,
it was nice to hang out with everyone here behind my